folks, I'm Vasel, and welcome to Best of Publishing. And today we're going to talk about a company that is sadly no longer with us. In 2015, they closed up shop. They started in 1998, and this is Out of the Box Publishing. Now, Out of the Box Publishing was, they picked what I think many publishers should do. They picked something and said, we're going to be good at this thing. And that thing was light, small, fun, mostly party games or other small games that are easy to play. It's the 5 minutes to learn, years to master type things, and just big, fun games. Now, they are certainly dominated by people. When people know about Out of the Box Publishing, it's mostly because of one game, Apples to Apples, which a few years before they closed, they sold that and a few of their other games to Mattel. So Mattel is still putting out Apples to Apples, but there's no question that Apples to Apples is one of the most dominating party games ever to come out, and in fact, probably changed how many party games were designed after it. The company was actually put together by a group of people. One of them actually is John Kovalik, who you might know from Dork Tower fame. He did the artwork. He's the one who drew the apple on Apples to Apples and drew some artwork for the other games. I believe their first game was Bosworth, which was like a 4-player chess game. I've done a review of that one. You can check it out. But I'd always got such a joy out of the Box Publishing. Now, when I do my top 10, there's lots of games that didn't make the list that I just had fun playing. They weren't like long-lasting memories, but little card games, 7, 8, 9, and other little games that they've done throughout the years. And when I would go to conventions and Out of the Box booth would be there, I would always go to it knowing that I don't play games at conventions, but I'd probably take a few minutes at the Out of the Box one to play a few of their games because they were so easy to get into, so silly and fun and entertaining. So here are my top 10 from Out of the Box Publishing. Number 10 was, I believe, the last game they published before they went out of business, and that was Snake Oil. After they got rid of Apples to Apples, they needed some other games to kind of pick up that slack and be the next big hit, and Snake Oil was not that big hit, but it was certainly closer, and they certainly put stuff behind it. Snake Oil was never anything, groundbreaking. The big idea by James Ernest certainly predated it, but essentially you had some sort of things that you were putting together with cards in your hand, and then you had to make a pitch and sell them to other people. The game is popular. It's still being played today. I do enjoy it. I might like some other games in this genre better, but Snake Oil certainly does a good job. Number 9 is Harry's Grand Slam Baseball. This is one of the oldest designed board games in existence. Well, I shouldn't say in existence, but that's still being played today, I guess. This is a very simple, quick baseball game, quick card game that was designed by actually a survivor of the Holocaust in World War II, and Harry brought this game over, and it was found by a designer who brought it to Out of the Box Publishing, and they got the whole thing reprinted and made it look a little classy, like it was been printed in old days. But it's a fast, silly little baseball game that I really enjoy. Number 8 is Tutankhamun. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm terrible at Egyptian pronunciation. But this one by Reiner Knizia was a simple thing. You can go as far as you want along a path to get goodies, but you can never go back. So do you jump ahead to grab stuff, or do you go back? A simple game. This was the one game I remember playing this going, hey, these guys make little strategy games. And these little strategy games are pretty fun. They're easy to set up and teach, but there's more to them than meets the eye. Another one I liked around this time was Fish Eat Fish, which was just a fun little game in that same regard. Number 7 is Basari. Now, Basari was really well known when gamers would sit around and be like, Out of the Box Publishing? What do they make? Apples to Apples? Oh, Basari. Basari was just a simple game in which you were moving a piece around the outside of the board, and you were collecting these different gems, and there were different ways to move on the outside of the board, and you want it to be the farthest to move. I mean, the fast one around, but at the same time you want to stop in different spaces and get gems in different ways. You'd be revealing tiles and how you were going to move each turn. It was an easy game to get into, probably plays best with a full complement of players. If you can hunt this one down at a thrift store somewhere, it certainly would be worth your while. Number 6 is Apples to Apples. I've been talking about this one already, but I can't deny this. I don't play Apples to Apples that much these days, right? There's so many other party games that have taken its place. But I played Apples to Apples probably a couple hundred times. It was so easy. They made so many expansions. They made custom cards, which I made, where you throw out these cards and you see what happens and you match them. And they made theme versions of it and expansions. And it was just a simple thing. One person puts out a green adjective, silly, and everyone throws a red card. They mix them up, you turn them over, and the judge picks one. The whole judge picking something is now common. It's in many, many games. I mean, the very, very popular Cards Against Humanity is essentially a dirty, vulgar ripoff of Apples to Apples. This idea was phenomenal. This game did extremely well, and it's the reason I think out-of-the-box publishing existed as long as they did. Number 5 is Vocabulary. This is a really fun party game that I enjoy, where you have big dice with parts of words on them, and you will use those dice that you get to make an answer to, what do you call chewing gum that you step on and you have to peel off your foot? What's the actual name for that? And my name might be Ufka Duba, you know, because of the different dice I have. But you put those in the middle, mix them up, and then the judge again picks, and I just like the creativity that this game did. The dice were silly fun. That's Vocabulary. Number 4 is Snorta. Now, you might be surprised that Snorta is so high on my list because Snorta is just a silly, silly game. But I remember this is one of those games I walked by the out-of-the-box publishing booth. I stopped, gave it a whirl, and was just said, this is hilariously fun. I played it with groups of kids, teenagers, and even adults, where you have these little barns, and inside these barns are animals. And when your animal comes up, you have to make the noise of that animal. And you are trying, and when someone else is trying to make the noise of their animal, and it's a really entertaining time. I believe this is one of the ones that Mattel has picked up, but every time we play this, people end up laughing. Number 3 is Word on the Street. They also made Word on the Street Junior. This is a great game where you turn over a card. You have to give a word, a vocabulary word that answers that on the card, and then you get to pull over the letters that were used in that word. If the letters used more than once, you can pull it twice. So you're essentially having tug of war with all these different letter tiles, trying to get them. And once you get them far enough, then you've won them. It's a great party game because it's team versus team, and you're trying to come up as quickly as you can with a word that answers the question that was asked, like name an animal, and you're like, oh, let's use giraffe. We can move the F twice. No, I don't want to use giraffe. Let's use hippopotamus. But we already won the P. That's kind of a waste. And there's a little bit back and forth. The junior version's good. It teaches spelling, but it's just so much fun because it's team versus team, and it works really well. Number 2 is Cloud 9. Cloud 9 has just been recently reprinted as Celestia from Quick Simple Fun Games. Cloud 9 is a push your luck game, and I love this one every time I play it, where you're flying in a balloon, and each turn someone rolls the dice, and then they are going to have to play cards to help the balloon go higher that match those dice. But before they do, each player has to decide, am I going to jump out of the balloon and score points? Do you jump out earlier, you get fewer points. The longer you stay in a balloon, the more points you get, but the chance the balloon will crash and you get nothing. It's a push your luck to an extreme, a great, great game. And my favorite game from out-of-the-box publishing is actually a series of games called the 10-Day series. 10 Days in the USA was first, then there was 10 Days in Africa, 10 Days in Europe, 10 Days in Asia, 10 Days in South America. I believe there was another one that might have come out overseas, but these games were essentially a Racco variant, where you had to move on this map, but you never actually touched the board in this game, but you just had to have all your cards lined up so that you could go from one state to another in America, or one country to another in the other ones, as long as they were adjacent, or you could use an airplane card to fly from one to the other, or in the American one there were cars that were wilds, and some had trains that would go from one spot to another. Very simple, very easy game, worked for 2 to 4. They even made a fun variation I played where you put them all together and then you played 40 days around the world or 50 days around the world. It is an excellently fun game as you try to put these things in a row. It's very easy to get into. It's one of those games that you can talk and have a conversation while playing it. Just a really well done game. So Out-of-the-Box Publishing, we salute you. I will miss them. I miss their friendly faces. They were always the friendliest people at any of the booths at a convention. I miss their fun games. Other companies are picking up the slack and making these fun party games, but I haven't seen one yet that has taken this niche and said, we're going to make these little cool games for the masses. But great fun times. That's what I have to say about Out-of-the-Box Publishing. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching Publishers Best on the Dice Tower.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.